voice-based AI system. Already I told you this voice-based voice assistants are coming under voice-based smart systems. Alexa, Siri, Google Now, Cortana, all these things. Then Google Voice Search. Not only that, we are familiar with only these things because we are using it in our day-to-day life. That's why we are familiar with only this. But if you see voice-based AI systems, there are too many voice-based AI systems. One is voice activity detection. This particular system is used to detect where speech portion is present, where silence portion is present. Then actually this is very important application because in most of the speech-based applications we are concentrating only on speech portion. We are not going to concentrate on silence portion. So we can eliminate silence portion. We can work on only speech portion. Then in speech, we are working on only in most of the applications we will work on only voiced portion. Okay, so that is the voiced portion. That is, if you take speech, there are different categories like voiced, unvoiced, and plosive. But in many applications, we will use only voiced portion of the speech. So to identify that particular one, we are using voice activity detection. Then speech recognition. Here, this is nothing but a speech to text application. We are all using nowadays. We are all using it frequently. That too in WhatsApp. Instead of typing the message, we are going to speak. Then that will be displayed as a text. That is nothing but speech recognition. Then speaker recognition from from a segment of speech. The particular system will identify who is the speaker. For example, and now you guys may not be familiar with my voice, but now you are hearing my speech. For example, 3 minutes or 2 minutes, you are hearing my speech. So your brain is your brain is trained for my speech. So hereafter when I speak, you will be in a position to recognize when I am speaking. When Dr. Marimuthu is speaking, you are instantly you are recognizing the speaker. Okay, such a kind of system we can develop. This is mainly used for password deduction, for password, for setting voice password, everything. Then speech synthesis. Speech synthesis, in the sense, this is just opposite to the opposite to that of speaker recognition. Actually, here text will be given. It is artificially going to produce the speech. That is called as speech synthesis. Okay, normally in railway stations and in airports, people are using this for making announcements. For making announcements, they will type only the text that will be converted into speech. That is the purpose of speech synthesis. Then speech enhancement. Speech enhancement, in the sense, from the speech signal we can eliminate the noise. We have to eliminate the noise. It is very, very important, especially in communication, telephone communication, or whatever may be the communication, where whenever we want to transmit voice signals, then we have to eliminate the noise from the speech signal. For that purpose, we are using speech enhancement. Speech enhancement is mainly used in what is that? Actually, hearing aids. It is used in hearing aids. Usually, hearing aid is nothing but an amplifier. It will amplify all the signals. It will amplify all the signals. It may be speech, or it may be noise. It may be for AC noise, whatever it may be. It is going to amplify everything. But there should be some artificial intelligence based application to enhance only speech. Only wanted signal must be enhanced. So this particular system is used in hearing aids. Then gender identification. Nowadays, e-commerce, that is online based commerce, is very popular. So gender identification, age group identification, these are all mainly used for projecting, for floating advertisements related to gender, related to age. So from the speech itself we can recognize the gender of the person, age of the person, all those things. Okay, then dialect identification. Identification, in the sense, That is, if you take Tamil language, if you take Tamil language, we have different dialects like Chennai Tamil, we have Madurai Tamil, we have Coimbatore Tamil. This is called as dialect. Okay, that is நம்ம என்ன சொல்லுவோம் slang சொல்லுவோம். Actually, we call it as slang, Coimbatore slang. But then we call it as Madurai slang. Likewise, for example, if a Malayali speaks English, that English will be different. If we speak English, that will be different. If a person from if the mother if a person is having Hindi as the mother tongue, their English will be different. English of American will be different. English of that is the British people will be different. Okay, but everything will be English. Okay, so that is called as dialect. That dialect also very very important. So from the speech itself, actually, if I speak for 1 or 2 minutes, you will identify my background. Actually, we can identify Malayali very easily when they speak Tamil or English. When they speak, we can identify them very easily. At the same time, if you take Coimbatore people, we can identify them as Coimbatore people just from their slang. Okay, so that actually that kind of intelligence we are going to give for our system. So that type of artificial intelligence system is dialect identification. This is also very, very important when developing various types of AI, various types of speech-based applications. Okay. Then disease diagnosis in the sense actually a person may have a particular disease. Okay, voice that is different diseases, paralysis. Okay, then Alzheimer, likewise different disease. They due to that disease, their speech signal will be modified. Okay, their speech signal will be different. Okay, so from the speech signal we can identify whether we can identify what is the severity of the disease. If a person is affected by for example paralysis, from the quality of their speech we can identify the severity of the disease. We can identify the disease as well as severity of the disease. Okay, then automatic language identification. Now I'm speaking sometimes, then and there I'm using my Tamil, then I'm speaking in English. You guys are in a position to identify in which language I'm speaking. Okay, actually India is a multilingual country. So automatic language identification system is very important because nowadays actually we are using many applications. You know what happened to Zomato. Okay, so language is very important in our country, right? So what problem they faced a couple of days before, what the problem they faced, you know very well. So language is very important in our country. Okay, if I cross 300 kilometers from here, then all notifications, everything coming in a different language. So automatic language identification is very important, especially government-based applications. Okay, government is going to give applications for all people, for all Indian people. But in each and every region, we are speaking different language. Therefore, the notification, that announcement, everything should be given related to the language of the region. So that is automatic language identification system. Okay, so now I think now you got some idea about what are all that is voice based AI system. Not only that, you see all these things, speaker segmentation. Actually, I'm giving a brief information about each and every application. So this may be useful for you and this may be useful for your students, so they can take up the that particular topic as a project. That's why I'm giving. Then I'll explain the remaining things also. Okay. Then speaker segmentation. You see here, if a meeting is going on, four people are speaking. For example, our prime minister is in a particular meeting. So I am having the meeting signal, but I want to know what information our prime minister spoke, because in a meeting many people are speaking. Okay, 4 or 5 people are in the meeting, but I am concentrating. I need the speech of only our Prime Minister. So what we can do, we can go for speaker segmentation. So it will tell you when the speaker is when the speech signal is switching over from one speaker to another speaker in the meeting. Okay, so person one is speaking, then our Prime Minister is speaking. So you can find out that, so the particular system will find out when the speech is switching over from one speaker to another speaker. Okay, then that is speaker segmentation. Then based on the speaker segmentation, we have speaker diarization. The speaker diarization, in the sense, this is nothing but extension of speaker segmentation. That is, so in that meeting, you have to collect the speech segment spoken by our Prime Minister. So many people are present in the meeting at a different point of time. Different people are speaking. Okay, but you need the speech from only our Prime Minister. So you can apply speaker diarization. So this is very important, because this is very helpful for information retrieval. That is image, yeah, image based information retrieval. You guys are, many people are working on it. Okay, but that is speech based information retrieval. Speaker diarization is a very good example for speech based information retrieval. Okay, then emotion recognition. Yeah, nowadays we are moving towards robotics. Okay, after 5 or 10 years, then a robot will be at my home. When I come from the university, my robot may serve me coffee or juice. That is going to happen. Or it may play me music or something else. Okay, that is melody music, or it may play me some what is that, actually in Tamil we call it as kuttu song. Okay, so depending upon my mood, depending upon my mood, actually the particular robot has to work. Okay, so in that case, emotion recognition is very important. That is actually the movie Robo is based on this one. You can recollect it. Actually, in emotion recognition, from the speech itself, the particular system will identify emotion of the person, so the emotion of the particular speaker. For example, from my speech itself, you can know different information. Okay, like whether I'm happy or not. Actually, you guys are hearing my speech for the past 10 minutes, so you know, now you came to some mindset. Yes, this madam knew something. This madam don't know anything about the subject. This madam, likewise, you have some judgment from my speech. Okay, so the same thing we can do it in our artificial intelligence also. So from the speech itself, you can identify the emotion of the speaker. Okay, then aids for the differently abled person. Already I told you, that is for hearing impaired. For hearing impaired people, different aids are available. Then next one is speech to speech translation. The speech to speech translation is very important in a country, in a multilingual country like India. That is, if you go to parliament, actually our MPs, many MPs are familiar with only the regional language. Okay, so but the information may be given in English or Hindi. So what will happen? It has to be translated. If I am from Tamil Nadu, it must be translated to Tamil. If a person is speaking, that must be converted into another required language. Okay, so for text it is available. I think many apps are available for text, but speech to speech translation is a challenging area. Okay, so if I speak in English, it should be converted into Tamil speech. Okay, it is really a challenging one. Okay, then next one is keyword deduction. Already I told you, for information, voice based information retrieval, this keyword deduction is very important. That is what Google voice search is doing. What Google voice search is doing, actually, uh, that is here, yeah, that is when you speak a particular keyword, based on the keyword, it is going to retrieve the particular document. So based on this keyword, we can retrieve different speech documents also. That is, various speech documents are available. Audio books, Nowadays, many audio books are available. Many that is audio based content is it is more now. Okay, so it is very tedious for you to listen each and every audio and getting the information. No, it is not. It is not good. So if I want to, yeah, excuse me. Hello, Marimati. Is there any issue? Is everything okay?
Yes, madam. Yes, madam. Going
Yeah,
fine.
good. Yeah.
Uh,
So you see, now I want to that is I want to search something. I want to search something. For example, I'm going to buy a robot. Okay, I'm going to buy or I want to know something about robot. So if I give robot, then based on that, it has to retrieve. Actually, Google search is the searching the text document, but here it is going to search the audio documents related to the keyword. So this is for audio information retrieval. This is also very important for audio information retrieval. Then audio indexing and retrieval. So this is also related to keyword. It has to find out the particular keyword. Then based on that, it has to retrieve the information. Okay. Then audio segmentation. You see, you have to know the difference between speech and audio. Speech, only human being can speak. Only we can produce speech. But audio is nothing but audio includes speech, music, then all environmental sounds. These are all noise. Even noise is coming under audio. Audio in the sense it includes speech, it includes music, then environmental sounds, then noise. Everything is called as commonly called as audio. Okay, so actually you see here that is whenever I'm switching over from one channel to another channel, you are not in this particular room. Okay, you assume like this. Now I'm changing, actually you are present in another room, but when I change the remote of my TV, automatically you are hearing only audio, then you are understanding, yes, madam is changing and changing the channel from music channel to news channel to some other sports channel. Likewise, you are identifying only from the audio, only from the audio. So that is called as audio segmentation. Audio, not only that, actually, that is already I told you, we have audio is nothing but speech, music, environmental sounds, everything. So I'm having an audio file or 10 minutes audio file I have. So you have to know where speech is present. Where, for example, you take our music channels. In music channels, for 2 or 3 minutes, the particular host will speak. Then then a song will be played. Then advertisement will come. Again, the host will speak. So here, the audio is moving from speech. Then it is going to music. Then it is going to some other category. Then you are getting, for example, noise. So here you are identifying when the signal is going from host to music, music to host, likewise. Okay, so that is also very popular music information retrieval. These are all coming under audio processing. Okay, then audio classification also. From the audio itself, you are identifying whether the particular channel is a news channel or music channel or sports channel. You are identifying, that is called as that is coming under audio classification. So you see here, these applications are very important applications in our day-to-day life. Knowingly and unknowingly, we are using all these things. We are using mobile phone. While using mobile phone, the first one already I told you, actually whenever we are speaking through mobile, voice activity detection is taking place. That system is working. So in our day-to-day life, we are using all these applications. So not only this, we have many more applications and under voice. Okay, now you got some idea about what are all the different applications of speech. Then only you can go for developing applications. Our title is, that is how we are going to develop different applications using deep learning techniques. Without knowing what are all the applications, then how do you develop it? So you, first of all, you should know what are all the applications available. So to some extent, I explained the applications, speech-based applications. Okay. Then next one. Okay. Is it that much important? Speech-based, that is voice-based or speech-based applications. You see this particular statistics. So this statistics shows that nowadays people are using more voice-based technologies. Okay. So I'm not going in detail about this statistics. Okay. So this statistics shows green in the sense people are using voice technology at least once in a month. Okay. Then red is once or twice in a month. Then yellow is once or twice they are using. Finally, blue is haven't used it. So if you see blue, only very few people are not using voice technology. So nowadays we are going for multimedia based communication, multimedia based systems. So voice based technology is the major one nowadays. Okay. So you see here, so far we have seen applications of speech processing. Then now we are going to see how to develop these speech based applications. Okay. Any one of you, is everything okay, Marimuthu?
Yes, madam.
Yeah, good.
Yes.
Then next one is what is that? Developing speech-based applications. That is, I have seen the program schedule of this particular faculty development program. Almost people covered. My colleagues, most of them are my colleagues. They covered the basics of different deep learning techniques, then how to use it for image, everything. But you should ask me, what is the specialty in your lecture? What is the specialty of this particular topic? Yeah, my topic is definitely a special one. The reason is my data, my signal is different. Image is different. Speech signal is different because it is a sequential data. If you take image, it is not at all sequential. If you take video, yeah, it is having sequential data. Okay. Speech-based applications are somewhat complex. The reason is it is a sequential data, not only sequential data, it is a time series data. Okay, so sequential. So what is meant by sequential data? Sequential data is any kind of data where the order matters. Okay, if I, for example, how that is, I have to ask like this: what is your name? Okay, in this sequence only I have to ask, what is your name? What name your is? What name your is? If I say like this, there is no meaning at all. What name your is? Because the sequence, you see the same words. What is your name? Same words I'm using, but I'm using it in a different sequence. Okay. So here the sequence, if I put it in a proper sequence, then only you can identify what I'm speaking. So that is called the sequential data. Here, the order matters. Then next one is actually speech signal is not only sequential data, it is a time series data. The reason is what, first of all, you should know what is time series data. Time series is a kind of sequential data because the order matters. Okay. Actually, it is a time series data. So speech is a time series data because it is a sequential data. Okay. Then a time series in the sense it must be sequence. The sequence is taken at successive equally spaced points in time. So the sequence is with respect to time. So the order is very important, but the order is depending upon the particular timing also. Okay. So that is called as time series data. So time series data is one kind of sequential data. Okay. So our speech signal is coming under this category. Okay. Then next one is now we have to develop a particular application using that is, we have to develop a speech based application. So first one is we have to pre-process the signal, because you are taking a speech data. If you can't apply speech data as it is. If you take image processing, if you are having 100 images, you can apply, yeah, you can take the image and you can apply it, no problem. Okay. Then definitely you need some kind of pre-processing, but you can apply the complete image directly. That is in deep learning techniques, Simply we have to give the input images. That's all. No feature extraction, nothing at all. So if you give training data images to the deep learning techniques as it is, the whole image you can take. But speech is not like that. Processing speech is different. So first of all, before going for processing, you have to do some kind of pre-processing. Okay, so these are all the steps involved in it. The first one is input signal is speech signal. Then you have to do pre-emphasis, then frame blocking, then windowing. So after that only you are going to get speech frames. Okay, so speech frames you will you can process only speech frames. Well, let me tell you the reason for this. Okay, pre-emphasis in the sense, uh, now I'm speaking, in my speech I have low frequency as well as high frequency. Okay, a low frequency in the sense, vowels, usually vowel sounds are low frequency signals. Okay, if I say oh, these are all vowels. Vowel sounds are what is that? Are actually they are having high energy. Vowel sounds are having high energy, low frequency. Okay, energy will be more, frequency will be less. For example, you take sounds like sh. If all these sounds, the frequency will be high, energy of the signal will be low. So high frequency signals are having lower energy, low frequency signals are having higher energy in speech. This is the concept actually. But while applying to the system, okay, applying to the system, all the signal, all the frequencies should have almost uniform energy. So one group of signal is having high energy, another group of signal is having lower energy. So it is not good. So what we are going to do, we are going to boost up the low high frequency signal, because high frequency signals are low in energy. Actually, many of you are faculty members, so you know very well that we are conducting remedial classes for slow learners. We are not conducting remedial classes for fast learners. So likewise here, high frequency signals are very less in energy, so we have to boost it up. Okay, for that purpose we are using pre-emphasis. Then frame blocking. So you see here, speech is not a stationary signal. It is called as quasi-stationary signal. Quasi-stationary in the sense, the signal will be, the characteristics of signal will be constant for a particular time period. After that, the speech signal, actually the characteristics of speech signal is not a stationary one. It is not a constant one. If you take an image, the characteristics will be constant. Once it has been captured, the characteristics is same. But if you take speech signal, okay, the characteristics of the speech signal will vary from one point of time to another point of time. Okay, then how do you get the characteristics of speech signal? But here it is not completely non-stationary, it is quasi-stationary. Quasi-stationary signal in the sense, the characteristics of the signal will be constant for only some period, then it will be varied slowly. Okay, so for that purpose you cannot process speech signal as a whole. For example, you have 1 minute speech data. Okay, it is not possible for you to process 1 minute data as it is. Okay, you have to convert it into frames, blocks. Actually, the speech characteristics will be constant only for 20 milliseconds. For every 20 millisecond, the speech characteristics will vary. Okay, so what we have to do, we have to divide the speech signal into different frames. Okay, each frame consists of, usually the frame size will be 15 millisecond to 30 millisecond. In such a way, it depends upon applications, but normally 20 millisecond will be taken. Okay, so you take a speech signal, for example, it may be 1 minute or 10 minutes. Okay, first of all, you take first 20 millisecond, then next 20 millisecond. In such a way, you have to take the portions from the speech. Then you can process. That particular portion is called as frame. You see here, first frame. Then second frame will be taken with the overlap. Otherwise, the characteristics at the boundary of the frame, the characteristics of the signal may be lost. That's why we are going for our overlapping frames. That is frame blocking. Then windowing also for this particular one. Okay. Then these are all the pre-processing. So you imagine like this: you are going to develop and see a speech-based application. For example, speech recognition. You are going to develop your own speech recognition application. For this, for that particular application, already you collected speech data. You imagine like this: yeah, you collected speech data, then you collected, then you completed pre-processing. Okay, now you are going for feature extraction. Okay, if it is image, you can apply it to deep learning techniques directly, but for machine learning techniques you need features. But if you apply speech signal for deep learning techniques, it is not possible to apply the speech signal directly. Okay, so here we are going for features. These are all called as segmental features: short time energy, short time zero average zero crossing rate, short time autocorrelation, short time Fourier transform, linear prediction coefficients, linear prediction Kepstell coefficients, Mel frequency Kepstell coefficients. I think Dr. Nalini explained these features, segmental features. Then another set of features, prosodic features. Okay, duration, pitch, rhythm, intonation, pitch contour, loudness, quality, pausing, and speaking rate. Okay, so I'm not going to concentrate much on the features because she explained, I think. Okay, so these are all the features. So depending upon your application, you have to select the features. Okay, that is segmental features and prosodic features. You have to extract. So for each, you collected the speech, you divided it into the frame. Then you are going to extract the features. You are going to extract the features, right? Then you see, apart from all these features, apart from all these features, excuse me, Dr. Marimuthu, can you please mute your audio? Yeah, thank you. Because already I'm facing a lot of issues today. Right. Okay. You see, these are all different features of speech signal. Not here I listed only few features of speech signal. One more important feature of speech signal is spectrogram. Okay. Spectrogram, you see, you may wonder what is the first one. The first one is nothing but speech signal. If you record and if you plot the speech signal, it will be like the first signal. Okay, from this you can take spectrogram. Spectrogram is nothing but the graphical representation of speech. Is it possible for you to see a speech? Yeah, we can convert our speech into an image. Okay, that is nothing but our spectrogram. So spectrogram is nothing but the visual representation of the speech signal. How we are getting this? We are going to take this discrete Fourier transform. You see, short time Fourier transform. You see, we engineers studied, especially computer science IT, that is circuit based course students. We electrical, electronics, all these students are studying Fourier transform in mathematics without knowing where we are using it. Okay, you see, we are using it here. You see, but we have to take Fourier transform. Then we have to plot it. A different method we supposed to use. I'm not here to explain everything. So spectrogram will be generated using short time Fourier transform. Okay, so spectrogram is nothing but the visual representation of speech signal. It is nothing but 3D. It is nothing but a 3D signal. You see time information along x-axis. Okay, then along y-axis we have frequency information. Then color, you see the color. In some places it is like blue, green. In some places it is light red, dark red, yellow, light yellow, dark yellow. We have different things, I'll explain. You see, for example, you take time slot at that is time instant. 0.2 second. You see that particular one. Actually, in that particular time, what are all the frequency? If you look at the vertical one, it will tell you what are all the frequencies present at that particular time instant. Because whenever we are actually in speech signal, the characteristics of the speech signal is varied. Therefore, the frequency also varying time to time. So if you want to know at 0.2 second, what is the frequency? 0.4 second, what is the frequency? Then you can get that information from here. Then one more thing, actually, the dark red, in the sense that frequency is having more energy. So if you take 0.2, the actually nearly 500 or 500 hertz is 500 hertz signal is dominating when compared to other frequencies. So dark red represents that particular frequency is having high energy. Okay, yellow in the sense it is having lower energy. That is zero. That green in the sense that the particular frequency is not present at that particular instant. So here you are getting time information, then you are getting frequency information, and you are getting energy, the energy of the signal. So three different information you are getting. So this is nothing but an image. This image was created with the help of short time Fourier transform. Okay, for each and every frame we have to take short time Fourier transform, then we are going to display it like this. Okay, so here we converted. Actually, I'm giving much importance to this. The reason is we are going to convert our speech signal into an image. So once you have image, you can apply it to convolutional neural network very easily. So that is in when we worked, we used machine learning techniques. That time we won't give much importance to spectrogram. We give much importance to Mel frequency, Kepler coefficients, LPCC. Only these features we will give importance. But nowadays, after the deep learning, after familiar with deep learning, we are giving much importance to spectrogram. The reason is it is converting the speech into image. Therefore, we can apply it into our convolutional neural network. Then we can develop different speech-based applications. Okay. Then you see wide band spectrogram, narrow band spectrogram. Both are spectrograms, but we are using different technology to display this. Actually, already I told you, no, we are going for short time Fourier transform. Short time Fourier transform means we will take only a portion of the window of the signal. Then we will take Fourier transform. Then we will move the window. We will take Fourier transform. Again, move the window. Take Fourier transform. In this way, we are going to do it. That time, what is the size of the duration of the window? Whether your window is 1 millisecond or whether your window is 10 millisecond, likewise. So depending upon the type of window selected, you will get wide band spectrogram and narrow band spectrogram. Okay, we are not going in detail about that. So this is the very important feature used in deep learning based speech applications. You see here, so you imagine like this. Now you are familiar with what are the speech applications, what are different speech applications available. Then next one, what actually how to develop speech-based application. So you are collecting your speech data. Yeah, you collected the data. Then you have to pre-process the data. Okay, you pre-processed. I already explained pre-processing. So you pre-process the data. That is also fine. Then next one is you are going to extract the features. For that purpose, you should know what are all the features available. So depending upon the algorithm you are going to use, you have to extract the features. Okay, depending upon the application, you have to extract the features. So feature selection is very important. Depending upon your application, then depending upon your model, you can go for, especially depending upon the application, you have to go for feature selection, right? The next one is commonly used machine learning algorithms. If you take many existing speech-based applications, these models are commonly used. The hidden Markov model, Gaussian mixture model, artificial neural networks, then support vector machine. These are all the commonly used machine learning algorithms. Okay, then uh, is uh, is everything okay from that
Yes,
side?
madam. Yes,
Okay,
yes, madam. Fine, madam.
yeah. Because I had a bitter experience today, that's why I'm asking. Okay, yeah. Actually, machine learning techniques, these are all the commonly used machine learning algorithms. Yeah, I completed my PhD in speech processing. So I used HMM, GMM. Yeah, I used ANN. I used support vector machine. Yes, I used all these in my PhD work. Okay, these are all the machine learning algorithms. But now you guys are going to develop it by using deep learning algorithms. Okay, so now let us concentrate on deep learning algorithms. If you take different types of deep learning algorithms, these are all commonly, there are many deep learning algorithms. These are all commonly used deep learning algorithms. Some of you, some of the algorithms you are already familiar. Some of the algorithms may be new for you. Just try to know the name of the algorithm. Convolutional neural networks, recurrent neural networks, then long short-term memory networks, then generative adversarial networks, then self-organizing maps, deep belief networks, restricted Boltzmann machines, autoencoders. These are all commonly used deep learning algorithms. Okay, so now you have, depending upon the application, you can select any one of the deep learning algorithms. Okay, either you use machine learning algorithms for developing your application, or you can use deep learning. But this FDP is on deep learning algorithm, so you select a particular algorithm. So you see here, let us take an example. Speech recognition. Speech recognition in the sense that is we have to convert speech to text. You guys are using in WhatsApp speech to text app you are using, right? Now we are going to develop such a kind of application using deep learning. Okay, speech to text in the sense, for example, you are going to convert 1 to 10. You are going to convert some speech into what is that into text. Okay, so you have to collect the speech data. Okay, then you pre-process the data, then take the feature. Now I am going to use convolutional neural network, for example. Okay, so what kind of feature I'll take? I am going to take spectrogram, because spectrogram is an image. If I use spectrogram directly, I can apply it to the CNN. Okay, then it is we can apply MFCC, LPCC, everything. But for example, I'm telling you. Okay, so you collected speech, you selected your feature. Yes, you are going to use spectrogram. Now you have to select your algorithm. For example, I'm having speech, I converted speech into image, so I'm going to use convolutional neural network, for example. Okay, so everything is ready. Now let us see the steps involved to develop speech processing applications. First one is collect appropriate data. Okay, then pre-process the data, then choose suitable feature and extract, then split the data set for training and testing. You are at the end of the FDP, so you may be familiar with what is training data, what is test data. So you have to segregate training data and test data, then choose suitable model. In our example, we selected CNN. Okay, then convert features into the shape accepted by the model. Okay, then build the architecture. You see, each and every model will accept the input in a different shape. Okay, in a different dimension. So accordingly, you have to reshape it. Okay, then build the architecture, compile and fit the model, then evaluate the performance of the model. Okay, then you see, so far I gave you an overview of developing speech-based applications. Okay, so now you are familiar with what is the application, what are all speech-based applications, how to develop speech-based applications. Now I'm going to show you a demo on speech recognition using spectrogram and CNN. Okay, let me. Is it visible, Muttumari?
Madam, your PPT only visible.
Huh?
Your PPT only showing, madam.
Okay. PPT மட்டும் தான் காட்டுதா?
ஆமா, yes, madam.
ஸோ அப்போ நான் என்ன பண்றேன்னா let me complete. ஏன்னா திரும்பி ஏதாவது ப்ராப்ளம் வந்துச்சுன்னு வைங்களேன், it won't be nice. ஸோ நான் என்ன பண்றேன்னா இதை நான் கம்ப்ளீட் பண்ணிடுறேன். I show you the demo later on.
Okay, after completing presentation, you show that.
Yeah, show the, I have to go to Google Drive. I have to run it on Google Colab. Already I developed a simple application.
Okay, madam. Okay.
So I'll show you the demo with Google Colab later on. But this is the application that is I'm going to demonstrate. Okay, that is speech recognition. It is going to recognize keywords. That is spectrogram is used, spectrogram and CNN. With spectrogram and CNN, I'll show you later on. Okay, then yeah, now you see, now you developed, for example, you developed a speech recognition system using spectrogram and CNN. Okay, yeah, yes, fine. So far you guys are familiar with only CNN. Okay, that is different resource persons explained different versions of CNN. Now we are going for the different types of deep learning network. You see, this network is not only for speech, this network is for any type of data. So definitely this topic, what I'm going to cover hereafter, this segment of my presentation may be useful for any type of application, because you can use RNN wherever you want. So this will be useful, I think. You see, why recurrent neural network? Already we studied CNN. Why recurrent neural network? Muttumari, is anyone covered RNN?
No, madam, only CNN.
Yeah. So now
we seen 1D CNN and 2D CNN.
Okay, now I'm going to present a new network. Then LSTM also, nowadays in many applications people are using LSTM. So I'll explain LSTM also. How many participants are there in the meeting, Muttumari? Because
82, madam. 82
if people are interested, I'll present. Otherwise, no need for presenting this, right? So it's up to you as a coordinator, right?
Yes, you can proceed, madam.
Okay. If people are interested, this may be fine, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Then you see this, why recurrent neural network? Actually, CNN is a feed-forward neural network. Feed-forward neural network in the sense, you will have input layer, you will apply input to the input layer. Or, for example, you have training data. The training data will be given to the input layer. Then it is moving on to the hidden layer. Then it is going to the output layer. Okay, so it is moving from input layer to output layer. That's it. It is not coming back. Okay, so this is called as feed-forward neural network. Only the weights are adjusted. Only the weights are adjusted. That's it. We are not using the output for further processing. We are not using the output at present state. Will not be used for processing the input for other state, next state. So it is you will apply some input now to the input layer, you will get the output. That's it. Okay, so that is called as feed-forward neural network. CNN is coming under this category. It is having some issue. These are all the issues. Cannot handle sequential data. Already I explained sequential data. Sequential data in the sense, our data, not only our data, the order of the data also very important. Actually, if you take sequential data, DNA sequence, speech, these are all coming under sequential data. Text data, speech data, sequential data. I'm sorry. The DNA sequence, then stock market data. Likewise, many data are time series data. If you take ECG, likewise, many naturally occurring signals are sequential data. Not only sequential, many are time series also. Excuse me. So the first issue is cannot handle sequential data. Our normal CNN cannot handle sequential data. It considers only the current input. So you apply. I think how many of you familiar with the signals and systems and digital signal processing? Okay, many of us may be afraid of digital signal processing, but once you are thorough with this digital signal processing, you can work on speech very easily. Okay, so you see here, this is actually a CNN. CNN output is present on only current input. It considers only current input. It is processing current input. It is giving output. That's it. Okay. It is not memorizing previous inputs. Okay. Therefore, it is not suitable for sequential data. Okay. CNN considers only current input. So because it cannot memorize previous input, therefore it is not possible to process sequential data. Sequential data is the current input is having some relationship with the previous input. What is, okay, I am Jyoti Lakshmi. I can't say I are Jyoti Lakshmi, right? I. So the next word is depending upon whether I am using I or she or he. Okay, so the sequence is very important here, right? For that kind of problems, our CNN will not work. So for many of the speech applications, we can go for RNN and other things. Okay, not only speech, for sequential data and time series data, you can go for this one. So solution for this particular issue is recurrent neural network. Okay, and RNN can handle sequential data. Why are we going for RNN? Our CNN is having some issue, so we are going for RNN. How RNN is finding solution for these issues? First one is an RNN can handle sequential data. Okay, then accepting the current input data and previously received inputs. All of you note down this. Actually, it is not only processing current input data and previously received inputs also. Okay, that is all married people can equate their wives to RNN. Okay, when we are quarreling with our husband, what we will say? We will not talk about only current issue. We will talk about the issue happened yesterday, day before yesterday, everything. Likewise, our RNN also, it is not doing processing only with the current input data. It is processing with the current input as well as the previous inputs. Okay, so the reason is RNN can memorize previous inputs because it is having internal memory. Okay, so RNN can memorize some inputs, so it can process the current input as well as stored input. That's why it can handle sequential data. Okay, so you see here, RNN are one of the most common neural networks used in natural language processing. So don't think like it is for natural language processing, it is none of our business. No, it's not like that. It is mainly in major natural language processing applications, we are using this one, RNN. Okay, that is what I'm saying. You can use it for DNA sequence processing, video processing, whenever and wherever you are using sequential data, time series data, you can go for RNN. Okay, you see, these are all natural language processing. In our daily life, we are using natural language processing, that is Google's auto completing feature. When we type, when we draft our mail, automatically, if I say looking forward, it is completing the sentence. Is it right? Google is completing the sentence. So Google's auto completing feature, whenever you are drafting the mail, yeah, the particular feature is enabled. Then Google Assistant, the like Alexa, all other things. Okay, Siri in iPhones, Siri, Alexa, Cortana, all these things are responding to our voice-based queries and commands. This is coming under natural language processing. Speech to text feature in WhatsApp, Google Voice Search. These are all, in all these things. These are all what is that? Natural language processing applications frequently used in our day-to-day life. Okay, so these are all some examples. You are all familiar with this, so I'm skipping it. You see, why? Yes, it is RNN, a recurrent neural network considers the sequence of input. Okay, then you see these networks are called recurrent. Why this neural network is called as recurrent? Because the recurrence rule is applied for every input. So this network is getting the input and it is applying recurrence rule. What do you mean by recurrence rule? Present output is computed based on present input and previous inputs. In CNN, it's not like that. In CNN, present output is computed based on present input. That's it. So there is no recurrent at all. But here, present output is computed based on present and previous inputs. So it is called as recurrent neural network. Okay, got the idea? Oh, right. You see, now we are going to see the principle of recurrent neural network. I'll give you one sequential data. This is what time is it? This is the sequential data. This is the sequential data we have, right? So first one, first input is what? So in our time step, first at the first time step, we are applying what? Then it is giving some output. Okay. Then next input is time. So the decision on second time step is taken not only on the current input. What is the current input? The green one is the current input. But second output is predicted based on black as well as green. What is black? Black is what? The green is time. So the second output is the second decision is taken based on the previous input as well as current input. Current input is time. Previous input is what? So the circle is nothing but hidden state. I think you guys are familiar with the particular structure of neural network. Input layer will be there, hidden layer will be there, output layer will be there. Same thing here. Okay, so what time is it? It is nothing but input. So it is applied to the input layer. Then it is going to the network, hidden layer. Then you are getting the output. Okay, so you see here. So here, then you next. Let us go to the next one. You see our third input. Third input is right. So here the decision is taken. That is the decision is taken majorly on current input, then little bit from previous two inputs. So some portion from green, some portion from black. Okay. So here it is having the decision has been taken based on current input as well as the previous inputs. Okay. Then you see this one, you can say you can see the concept by looking at the colors. Okay, gray. So then you see here, the last one, what time is it? Okay, so the final one will be taken based on current input as well as the portion of previous inputs. Okay, so this is called a sequential decision making. So for this kind of applications, we can go for our recurrent neural network. So this is the principle of recurrent neural network. I think you guys understood what it is. Okay, what is the difference between recurrent neural network and CNN? The principle. Okay, the difference in the principle, right? So you see, if you see recurrent neural networks, actually this is the structure. Here xt is nothing but the input, then ht is nothing but your output value, then this is your network. You see a, this particular block is nothing but your hidden, the unit. Okay, you see it is having feedback. Now I'll show you. You see, actually this particular this is single RNN cell. This is single RNN cell. You see, the structure is same as that of our artificial neural network. In artificial neural network, we have a neuron. The same is called as RNN cell here. So in each RNN cell, you will have this structure. It will accept some input, then it is the particular hidden unit, then output. But this particular hidden unit has this kind of structure. Okay, So if you unroll it, you will get the sequence, multiple copies. So this is for sequence at time step t naught. X naught is the input at time step t naught. This is input at time step t1, input at time step t2, input at time step T2, etc. So here, if you unroll, if you open a particular cell in RNN, it will look like this. You see, X1 naught is the current input, addition is H naught. Then X1 is that is the input at time step 1. Now the decision is taken from the current input X1, as well as it is getting some information from the previous one, previous time step. So this is the concept. Okay. Then you see, if you take types of recurrent neural network, yeah, there are many networks: one-to-one, one-to-many, many-to-one, and many-to-many. Okay. You see here, one-to-one RNN, in the sense you will apply single input, then you will get single output. Okay. This type of neural network is known as vanilla neural network. For normal machine learning problems, you can apply this one. This is like normal machine learning algorithm, machine learning problem. It is used for general machine learning problems. Single input, single output. Okay. So you see, so whenever you are using machine learning, you can replace it. You can replace that machine learning algorithm with this one-to-one RNN. Okay. Then you see, one-to-many RNN. You see this application. Okay. Here we are going for image caption. So what is the input? Input is nothing but image. Only single image has been applied. All of you look at this one. Yes, Marimuthu, is it okay? Fine.
Yes, madam. Yes,
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. Actually, the input is the blue one. The input layer. Input layer is blue one. We will apply only one image. Okay. But what is the output? Output is like this: a sequence of a sentence, a caption. We are going to give caption for this image. A dog catching a ball in mid-air. So it is a sequence. It has to, first of all, it has to produce a, then dog, then catching, then air, then ball. Likewise, it has to produce a sequence of multiple outputs it has to produce. Okay. So this is for that particular case, we have to go for one-to-many RNN. We have to go for one-to-many RNN. Then many to, this is many to one RNN. You see this example, actually sentiment analysis. You see, a complete sentence. Yeah, many sentences will be given. From the sentence, from the given sentences, you have to find out whether actually, if you are working in data mining, people may be much familiar with this one. Okay. So from the group of sentences, you are going to find out the sentiment, whether it is positive or negative or neutral. So you see, many to one network. You see, on the left side, blue is nothing but your input layer. So here, say sentences will be given. So for first blue, first sentence is given. For second blue, second sentence may be given. Likewise. Okay. Then yeah, actually the green, the center one are hidden units. Then output is only one, either positive or negative or neutral. So multiple inputs and many. Then I'm sorry, one output. Okay. So that kind of CNN is many to one RNN. So why I'm explaining this is, depending upon your application, you have to know whether you need one-to-one or one-to-many or many-to-one. That you have to decide. Based on that only, you have to write the Python code. Already you see here, only the concept is very important. Nowadays, Python code is readily available. Only 4 line or 5 lines of code you have to use. But you should know what type of parameter you have to use. Okay, we are all doctoral committee member for many students. People are simply using without knowing the concepts. Many people are coming. The reason is the Python. Yes, Python is very useful, but Python is giving everything in the form of function. So what people are doing? They are simply using function without knowing the concept. If we ask what is the parameter you used, why did you use this parameter? If we ask this question, people are not in a position to answer our questions. Okay, that is a major problem we are facing nowadays among our PhD scholars. Okay, so you should know the concept. Coding, yeah, in Python you can write within 5 to 10 lines, you can complete RNN. Okay, you have functions. Don't worry. So you should know this one. So whenever you are taking the application, you should know which one you are going to select, which one is suitable for your application. Okay. So I'm deviating, I think. Okay. So one to one, we finished. One to many, many to, yeah, many to one. The next one is many to many RNN. Yeah, this particular application is very useful for India. Yes, you see multiple inputs. Okay, I'm that is the speech to speech translation. For example, you take speech to speech translation. So so for example, I'm speaking in English. Okay, then it is a sequence of data. So it is that sequence of data is given to multiple inputs that must be converted into the sequence, another language. It will be converted into another language, right? I'm speaking in English, it should be converted into Tamil, or it should be converted into Hindi. So many inputs, sequence of input, it should be converted to another sequence of another sequence. So multiple outputs. So machine translation is one good example for this. Okay, so this is many to many RNN, multiple inputs, multiple outputs. Got the idea? So yeah, now you are familiar with what is RNN, what is the difference between RNN and CNN, what are the different types. Now you know everything. So now you have to select proper RNN for your application. Okay, good. Now you see the structure of RNN. You see this diagram. If you attended this FDP properly, you must be in a position to tell me what is this, uh, just looking at the diagram. Okay, so input layer we have, yes, we have hidden layer, yes, we have output layer. Don't worry about dotted layer. Dotted layer, blue dotted layers are there, no? So you don't worry about it. Without that, it is a feed forward path. All of you look at that. The green arrow marks are going from input layer to hidden layer, then from hidden layer to output layer. That's it. It is not coming back. It is not coming back. There is no coming back. So there is no feedback at all. Okay, but now we have converted. If on the arrow mark, we have included arrow marks, blue, that is dotted arrow marks, blue arrow marks. That is nothing but feedback connection. You see, the feedback connection is coming from output layer to hidden layer. It is coming from output layer to hidden layer, then from hidden layer to again hidden layer. You see, so here one RNN cell. You see the box. All of you look at hidden layer. All of you look at the last cell. One cell. If you unfold, that's what I told you earlier. If you unfold it, you will see like this. Let me see. Okay, if you unfold it, you can see how many are available. So usually in ANN, only one hidden unit will be there. One hidden unit, yeah, only one hidden unit. But here, one RNN hidden unit consists of sequence of RNN cell. So S of T minus 1, S of T, S of T plus 1, S of T plus 2. So each and every cell is having a group, a sequence. Okay, so that is the difference between ordinary artificial neural network and recurrent neural network. Actually, in artificial neural network, only one cell will be there. That's it. But here, the sequence will be there. That is depending upon the input. That is depending upon எவ்வளவு இருக்கும். Actually, you may ask me like this: how many? If I unfold it, how many will be there? Whether 3 or 5 or 7? No, it is depending upon the input. So that unfolding, actually that sequence will be decided by the network itself, depending upon the data. Okay, depending upon the input data, it will decide whether each cell is having 4 or 5 sequence or 6 sequence. that will be decided. Okay, that input will decide everything. You see, so actually from output we are coming to it. The output is used to is given to hidden layer, so that will be used to take the decision everything, because that's why we are saying it is having memory. Okay, you see, this is the basic RNN cell. Okay, now we have only this box. Actually, in each and every cell, all of you look at the lower one, unfolded over time. We have three different cells, you know. So first one is the same cell at time t minus 1. So Jyoti Lakshmi at 12:30. Jyoti Lakshmi at 1 o'clock. Jyoti Lakshmi at 1:30. So same, the cell is same, Jyoti Lakshmi. But what is the sequence of Jyoti Lakshmi? At 8:30, what I did. Okay, at 9 o'clock, what is my role? At 9:30, what is my role? So 1 o'clock, 1:30. So as a Jyoti Lakshmi, what are the sequences I have taken? I cooked, then I completed housekeeping, then I went to our office, then I completed my class, then committee work, then I went to my lab, then I came home, then I'm giving you the lecture. You see, I am a cell, but the time, depending upon the time, I'm taking different sequence. The same thing here. So in that way, you have to see this unit. You see, actually now we can see what is inside the cell. So inside the cell, it will be like this. I'll explain. So this is basic RNN model. Okay, now let us take only one cell and we can see what it is, how it is working. Now all of you look at this. Actually, steps to implement an RNN. Implement the calculation needed for one time step. Okay, so here this is one S of t minus 1 is one time step. Here we have to perform the calculation for only one time step. Then it will be used for other time steps also. Okay, so forward pass. So you will make calculations for one time step. Then you will loop it. Then you will process it for all inputs. That is forward pass. Then backward pass. For in backward pass, you will use back propagation through time algorithm. Actually, in artificial neural network, in all other neural networks, you use back propagation algorithm for updating the weights. But here you are using a new type of algorithm, back propagation through time. Yeah, this is also a type of back propagation algorithm, but here it is working with respect to time also. It is working with respect to time also. So that's why it is called as back propagation through time algorithm, right? Then you see, it is very simple. All of you look at this particular cell. Actually, my input is x of t. All of you look at the lowest, that is the lowest part of this diagram. X of t is the current input. It is multiplied by the weight. It is multiplied by the weight. Then actually, a of t minus 1 is the input coming from previous time step. Input coming from previous time step, that will be multiplied by weight. Okay, some weight. So the previous the previous output is given as input to the current state. So a of t minus 1 is the previous output. So that will be multiplied by some weight. Okay, current input is x of t, that will be multiplied by some weight. Both will be added along with the bias. That is, you should know about artificial. Here, what I'm assuming is that as you guys are familiar with artificial neural networks. Okay, it's not possible for me to explain everything. So here bias we need to use. So three inputs we are getting: WAX input multiplied by what is that, weight, then previous output multiplied by weight, then bias, everything add it together. Then you have to give it to tanh activation function. Okay, here that will be converted into -1 or +1. Then you will get the current output. What is current output? A of t is the current output. So this current value, output value, is used to make the final output at this particular time step. So here what will happen? For each time step, you will get some output. For each time step, you will get output. So what is the output? So A of t is given to softmax. So softmax will convert it into the probability. Okay. So you will get the output y cap of t. So this is your y cap of t is your output. Then A of t is the output given to the next state, next time step. So this is for only one time step. So at this time step, the output A of t is calculated with the help of x of t as well as with the help of A of t minus 1. A of t minus 1 is the decision taken on the previous time step. Okay. So this is, you see, this, if you look at the equation A of t, the same thing, what I explained, WAX, the matrix, weight, then input, weight, previous output plus bias. Then we are applying tan H. In already I explained that sequence. That one is given in the form of equation. Okay. Then next one is y cap of t. Y cap of t is, that is W, that is weight between y and a. Then current output a of t plus bias. Then it is applied to softmax activation function. Okay. So this is, in this way we have to implement one RNN, right? Then it is given to the, so this is it's fine. Already I told you. I'm going to skip all those things. Okay. So you see, likewise, we have to do it for, already I explained the concept for only one time step. This has to be repeated for all time steps. Depending upon the input, if I need 5 time steps, this calculation must be repeated 5 times. First of all, it will perform for time step 1. Then that output is given to time step 2. Then it is going to take process it time step 2. Then from time step 2 to time step 3. At time step 3, we will apply some input. Then we use the previous output. By using both, we are going to make the decision. That is RNN forward pass. Likewise, we have to go from 1 to, actually from input to the network output Y. So Y is nothing but our output, X is nothing but our input. So it is called as forward pass. It is going from input layer to output layer. Got the idea? Okay. I'm skipping all these things. Then you see, already I told you, no, now we traveled from input layer to output layer. Fine. But now we have to travel back. As usual, we have to adjust the weights. We have different weights, you see, what are all the weights? This is the major drawback in online class. Okay, I don't know whether you guys are what is that, understanding my concept. I couldn't see your eyes to know whether you understood my lecture or not. Anyhow, then I'm not getting any voice from the participants, so it's a major drawback for me. Okay. Anyhow, you see,
Ma'am, we can able
we
to
have,
understand.
yeah.
Ma'am, we can able to understand.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. You see, different weight matrix we are getting, you see WAA, in bit WAA, WAX, then we have WAY, already I told you, YA. Okay. So 3 weight matrices, then we have bias, everything. Actually, these values must be updated. That is called as training the network. That is called as training the network. For that purpose, we are using back propagation. Yeah, it is back propagation. And back propagation is used to update the model parameters. Okay, this is applicable for RNN, CNN, artificial neural network, everything. Okay, but RNN is having a special characteristics. What is that characteristic? It has to update all the model parameters with respect to, it has time also. It has to include the time information also. That is also very important. So you see here, the backpropagation algorithm is utilized by both in the sense RNN and CNN, but with a slight twist in RNN. So I'm saying a slight twist. So what is that twist? Okay, in RNN, the gradient at all output. Okay, let me leave all those things. Okay, computations of the current time state, but also on the previous time state. So here, everything, all the parameters will be computed based on the current time step as well as on the previous time step. But in a normal back propagation, it will take only the current time step. Okay, so so here, because the parameters in the network are shared across all time instances. Already I showed you a example. You know what time it is. What time is it? Likewise, I told you no. So so here the particular parameter is not only depending upon the current one, it is depending upon the previous one also. So here sharing from all the time instances are happening. So we are going for back propagation through time algorithm, right? Okay, so you see here we are using chain rule to update the parameters. So what are the parameters we are updating? We are using WAX, then WAA, then VA. These are all updated with. So for that purpose, we have to find out dou J by this dou WAX. So J is nothing but cost function. So by changing the particular weight AX, how much deviation is there likewise. Okay, so this is I'm not going in detail. If I go in detail, that may be boring, so I'll give you some overall idea so you can understand it very easily. Okay, now you see, this is the concept here. What is given as input? Actually here we will give, I am going to change some I'm going to make some changes in the state t. So how it is affecting t minus 1, because I'm backtracking. So with respect to t, we have to make changes in t minus 1. With respect to t minus 1, we have to make changes in t minus 2. So we have to move in the backward direction. Okay, so here the input is dou j by dou a of t. Then a of t, already I told you, a of t is the current output, current hidden state. A of t minus 1 is the previous hidden state. X of t is the present input. Then all other parameters. Okay, all other parameters in the sense WAX, all weight matrices, bias, these are all called as parameters. So these are all, by using all these things, we are going to make changes in the weight and changes in all the weights. So here all these values will be computed. All these values will be computed. So let us see what are the values are computed. Okay, so in back propagation, what is given as input? Gradient of loss with respect to next hidden state. Results of RNN forward pass. Already I told you, no, these two blue marks. One is coming from the right direction, another one is coming from the top. These two are the inputs. So coming from the right direction is first one, gradient of loss with respect to next hidden state. It is coming from tth state. It is coming. It is used to make changes in t minus 1th state. Then result of RNN forward pass, that is coming from the top. Cache a of t minus 1, x of t parameters. These two are applied. Okay. Then what are the outputs? All of you look at this. Gradients of input data. What is gradient of input data? Input data is the lowest one, though, that is dou j by dou x of t you are computing. So you are computing dou j by dou x of t. So that is nothing but gradient of input data. Gradients of previous hidden state. So dou j by dou of at minus 1. Left one is another output. What is that output? Gradients of previous hidden state. Then what else you are doing? Gradient of input to hidden weight. You see within the box, three gradients are given, parameters gradients. One is WX, WX related to weight of input, WA related to weight of, what is that? Hidden to hidden weight. Okay, then bias. So here it is accepting two different inputs, then it is computing many gradients, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 different gradients it is computing. So what is the change in what is that weight in input state, input, then hidden weight, then hidden to input to hidden weight, hidden to hidden weight, hidden to output weight, bias vector, everything it is recalculating. Okay, so now you have to train the network with this new weight. So this process is continued. Got the idea? So you see, this is the concept of long short term. I'm sorry. This is the concept of RNN. Okay. Actually, excuse me, Marimuthu, shall I take 10 more minutes? It's already 4:24, I think. Already, I face some issues. So, shall I continue till 4:45?
Okay, madam. Okay, madam.
Yeah. Because then only my lecture will be complete. Okay. Yeah. You see, so far we have seen RNN, I'm not actually, but there is some problem in RNN. So I'll tell you what is that problem. Why are we going for LSTM? You see, many research students are using LSTM nowadays, but it is somewhat complicated structure. Yeah, it is taking much time, complexity, everything. Okay. But it is a good network for sequential data. I'll explain to some extent. I'll explain. Then I'll show you one application. Okay. So you see, RNN is, yeah. So now you studied the concept of recurrent neural network, right? So you have to imagine now. You have to imagine like this. You developed a speech-based application using spectrogram and CNN. Yeah, successfully it developed. Then you studied about recurrent neural network, but recurrent neural network is having some problem. What is the problem? Vanishing gradient problems. It is affected by gradient problems. I'll explain what is that gradient problem. Let us go to the concept, okay, directly. So if you take gradient problem, there are two types of gradient problems. One is, you look at the slide number 47. Vanishing gradient problem is one gradient problem. Another one is exploding gradient problem. I'll give you the explanation for vanishing gradient problem. Already I told you, no, we are changing the weights. We are changing the weights gradient. Okay, gradient dou j by dou x, dou j by dou w. Likewise, we computed all these gradients. All of you look at slide number 45. All these gradients we computed. So actually, if while computing this gradient, if the changes with the previous one and the present one is very small, what will happen? There will not be any significant change in the network. If our gradient is very big, when the gradient becomes too small, the parameter updates become insignificant. So that time, actually there is no room for training. It is not possible to go for any training. The reason is, the changes in the gradient is very small. So there is no point of updating the parameters. So that is called as vanishing gradient. You think about the other extreme. Actually, my gradient value is, it goes on increasing. If it goes on increasing, what will happen? You have to change the parameters continuously. If you change the parameter, again it is increasing. Again it is increasing. So what will happen? It will be very, the value will be very high. So it is very hard to train the network. So that is called as exploding gradient. It should not be too high. It should not be too low. That is the concept. The changes should not be too low. That time vanishing gradient problem will occur. If it is very high, exploding gradient problem will occur. Okay. So due to this gradient problem, what will happen? Long training time, poor performance, bad accuracy. These are all the major issues. So what we can do? So these are all the solution for exploding gradient. These are all the solution. Three solutions given. Vanishing gradient, three solutions given. But out of these two gradient problems, this one is the major one. Which one? Vanishing gradient is the major problem in RNN. Okay. So we have to tackle that vanishing gradient. So different solutions are given. Out of these solutions, long short-term memory network, LSTM, is one solution. LSTM is a solution for what is this? For what vanishing gradient problem. So here I'll give you the overview of long short-term memory. Then I'll let us develop simple application using LSTM. Okay, you see here. Similar kind, actually the concept is almost similar, but in LSTM cell you look at this similar, almost similar, but here x of t, you are familiar, x of t is input, but apart from that it is having three gates: forget gate, update gate, and output gate. Okay, then a of t minus 1, you should be familiar by this time, already I explained. X of t is your present input, a of t minus 1 is coming from the previous hidden state. Okay, then c of t minus 1 is coming from that is actually the state of the previous cell. Okay, then state of current cell is c of t, then current output is a of t, I'm sorry, current hidden state is a of t, current output is y of t. But you see here we included three gates: update gate, forget gate, update gate, and output gate. Let us forget about the mathematics. I'll tell you this one. Okay, or I'll give you one example. Okay, you may wonder what is the purpose of three gates here. One is forget gate. Okay, forget, then update, then output. Okay, forget gate in the sense it decides how much past data it should remember. Then one more point I want to tell you, the difference between RNN and LSTM. RNN is capable, yeah, it is good for sequential data, but how much previous data it remembers. Okay, actually it can remember only for short input data. That is, it currently it is working on fifth one. Then it can remember up to third one. Fifth one it is working, so it can remember fourth one, third one. So it is having very small memory. But in many applications we have to go for, okay, we have to go for this one I wanted to, yeah, we have to go for longer one. We have to go for longer one. I'll explain. Okay, after completing this. So here decide how much past data it should remember. That is the so for that purpose we are using forget gate. Okay, then so now I'll give you an example. This is our, let the output of y of t minus 1. Y of t minus 1 is the previous output. Y means output, t minus 1, so previous output. This is the input. For what is my input? My input is like this. Prakash is good in physics. Mani, on the other hand, is good at chemistry. This is my input. For this input, say I got y of t minus 1. Let the output of y of t minus 1 be this one. Okay. Now, current input is given. Current input is given. Okay. Current input is x of t. What is the input now I'm giving? Actually, previously, this is my data. Prakash is good in physics. Mani, on the other hand, is good at chemistry. This is stored in my network. Okay. Now I'm giving some input. What is the input I'm giving? Mani plays football well. He told me yesterday over the phone that he had served as the captain of his college football team. You see, previous one is about Prakash. It gives much importance to Prakash. Okay, so what is stored here? Stored there? Yeah, the person, actually, this is about, the context is about Prakash. So it is storing Prakash as the subject. But now, what is the current input? It is not talking about Prakash. It is giving importance to Mani. So who is the subject now? Mani is the subject now. So which information must be erased? Which must be erased? Information about Prakash must be erased. Okay. So that will be done by forget gate. So now forget gate will erase the information related to Prakash. It will store the information related to Mani only. You see the length of the sequence. It is very lengthy sequence. That's why we are going for long. That's why the name long short-term memory. It is having short-term memory, but that short-term memory will will work for some longer duration, will work for longer sequences. Okay, that is the concept. Then you see next one is update gate. Okay, in update gate, we are using two parts. You see this diagram, sigmoid. Actually, you see, upon forget gate, I used gamma, capital gamma. Upon update gate, I'm using gamma. Upon output gate, I'm using gamma. Okay, then tan H function also we are using, right? You see, next one is update gate. I'll give you one example. Update gate with current input at x of t, the input gate analyzes the important information. Okay, important information. What actually from the statement? What is important? Money plays football, and the fact that he was the captain of his college team is important. He told me yesterday over the phone is not that much important. So what it will do? It is going to update. So it is going to delete the information like he told me yesterday over the phone. That will be deleted. Only updated information will be kept. So what is the updated information? Money plays football. He was the captain of his college team. So the second in the second step, it is finding out which is important, which is less important. Important one is kept in the network. Less important will be deleted. Okay, that will be done. Okay, then next one is decide what part of the current state cell state makes it to the update. Okay, here I'll give you one more example. I'm sorry, I'm not in a position to explain very clearly this part because we are running out of time. So I'm giving you overview. Okay, so if you have any doubt, you could ask me later on. You can contact me. You are having, I'll leave you my mail ID. You can ask me. Okay, you see here, this is the output. So this is the thing given to the network. Money, this is the input. So it has to find out answer for this dash. Money played tremendously well against the opponent and won for his team. For his contributions, Brave Dash was awarded player of the match. So here our network has to fill up the dash. Okay, so the network already updated the information about money. Okay, so here in this place exactly we need noun. So here noun is not Prakash, the noun is money. So here the dash will be filled with money. So this will be done by output gate. This will be done by output gate. Okay, so here first one is what is that? First one is forget gate, then update gate. Okay, then output gate. So output gate is producing the output. Then update gate is keeping only the important information. It is identifying which is important, which is less important. Forget gate. The first one is it has to remember the wanted one. It has to delete the remaining one. Then second one, it is finding out which is important, which is less important. Then next one, it is finding out which has to be given to the output, which has to be given to the output. For that purpose, we are using different activation functions like sigmoid, then tan H, everything we are using. Okay, you see. So this is LSTM. Okay, you see. So to build RNN layers in Keras, these are the built-in RNN layers in Keras. Okay, that is Keras.layer simple RNN, LSTM, GRU, gated recurrent unit. Okay, with this simple application, I'll show you this application. You see, I am having an example. All of you, please understand the problem clearly. Okay, many people are doing developing applications. Many PhD scholars are doing the research without knowing what is the problem. You have to understand the problem, so that here also you please understand the problem. Actually, 10 values will be given to the network. Okay, 10 values. It has to predict the 11th value. From the 10 values, it has to predict the 11th value. This is the concept. Okay, so here our time series data vector T, it is T1 to Tn. Our task is to predict Okay, the future values. From T1 to Tn, it has to predict Tn plus 1. Then from T2 to Tn plus 1, it has to predict Tn plus 2. So from the previous n values, it has to predict the next value. Okay, so this is the example, right? So this is the code corresponding to this problem using LSTM. You see, for this one, actually, my title is developing speech-based applications. But here I am giving simple application. The reason is, if I show you the speech-based application using LSTM, that will be very complicated. Many of you are not going to work with simple the speech application. So here I am giving you simple LSTM example. So this will be very helpful for your project work or your research work. Therefore, I eliminated speech because to understand a speech-based project, it may be somewhat complicated for you guys. That's why I'm explaining this one. Okay, so don't think like this. So you will get some idea at the end of this FDP. You will have some idea how to develop a particular application using LSTM. So I took very simple data. Then only you can understand the concept. So here, as usual, we have to import the libraries. Then you see here the data. Actually, here we considered very simple problem. So the data itself generated by this code. So here random number will be generated. 100 random numbers will be generated. Okay. So from this training data and test data will be divided. You see. So training data 75%, test data 25%. So that one we are going to decide. Okay, out of 100, 75. So 100 in the sense, first sequence 10 values will be there. Next sequence 10 values will be there. Next sequence 10 values will be there. So totally 100 sequences are there. You try to keep in your mind. Okay, first sequence 1 to 10. Some random number 10 numbers. Okay, so each and every sequence has 10 numbers in this example. Okay, so from the given 10 numbers, it has to predict 11th value. Okay, so here out of these 100 sequences, 75 sequences are used for training and training. So obviously remaining 25 for testing. Okay, then actually here we have to scale it. So here we are using min-max scaler. So that min-max scaler will be applied to the data. So scaling, if you are familiar with data analytics, you should know about scaling. You have to scale the data in between 0 and 1. All the data will be scaled from 0 to 1. So we are applying it. Then here we are splitting the data. We are splitting the data. Actually, sequence, that is 100 sequences. Out of 100 sequences, 75 for we are preparing training data. We are preparing training data. Then here we have to actually we are using Python. That is so we have to convert it into NumPy array. Okay, so we are using convert it into NumPy array. Then we are going to reshape the data into 3D array. That is very important. In LSTM, the data should be with 3-dimensional. Okay, so in that way we have to reshape the data. So here actually training data 75% we have taken, but here I made a mistake. That's why I got only 65 values. So here 65 data. Okay, in each and 65 sequences, out of 65 sequences, each and every sequence has 10 values. Okay, then output is only one. Output is only one. So one this is the reshaping. Yes, look at this. This is the code for LSTM. So don't worry about the don't worry about the coding. That's what I told you. If you know the concept, then only you can understand this coding very easily. You see, by using Keras layers, you are creating sequential. So sequential, you know very well because already you studied CNN for the past 4 days. So here it is producing layers. Okay, then you see model. So that is given the name as model. Then model dot add, we are adding layers. LSTM layer we are adding. Units equal to 50. 50 is nothing but number of hidden units. Unit is 50, number of hidden units. You see, this is the rule for selecting hidden units. I skipped this actually. So I'll share my slide. If you want to work on LSTM, you have to keep this in your mind. Don't take hidden neurons according to your convenience. You have to follow this concept. Okay, so here we have selected 50 number of units. Return sequences equal to true. If you say true, you will get multiple outputs. If you say it false, you will get, if your network is one to many. Many in the sense you have to give true. If it is many to one, if the output you need only final output, only one output, then it will be false. Okay, but here in this case we are using many layers, so we have to give it as true. Then we have to give input shape, then dropout. This is first hidden layer. Here for illustration, I added many layers. Then second hidden layer. Second one, you see same code, model.add, LSTM, units 50, return sequences true. Then likewise, second layer, then third LSTM layer. Okay, then last one, the fourth LSTM layer. Okay, finally, we are going for output layer. You see, this is the code, but you should know the concept to understand how unit equal to 50. Why return sequence equal to true? If you give false, what will happen? How to give input shape? These are the things you have to keep in your mind. For that purpose, you should know the concept of the network. Okay, so this is the simple example. So here you created LSTM network. Okay, now we are going to fit the model for the data. So training data, you are going to fit the model. This is the, actually this coding is similar to CNN, so I'm not explaining much. Okay, only thing is this LSTM and the parameters given to the LSTM are different. Okay, then we have to go for testing, prepare test data, then you apply it to the network. Okay, this is what is our network. Our this is our network. Okay, so it has to be given here. Okay, if you see this one, this is almost similar to, actually here only we are going for this one. Okay, testing. So here you please go through this one. It is not possible for me to explain each and every coding here, but I want to tell you one thing. If you go through this, if you understood CNN, you studied for the past 4 days clearly, you can understand this within 5 minutes. You can understand this coding. Okay, so here testing, here we created the model, here we created the model. Then that model will be given to a testing data. The model will be given to the model.predict. So the trained model will be used for prediction. Then we are calculating root mean square error. So this is the output. Actual data is 3.688. Then the predicted value is 3. Okay, so this predicted value is RMSE. Yeah. Okay, so this is the concept. Likewise, you can develop any application using LSTM. Okay, so almost I am done. Yeah, Muttumari, actually only thing is that demo is left out. Already it is 4:47. So if you are interested, we can wind up. Otherwise, I am ready to explain the demo if the participants are willing. Otherwise, we can wind up with this. Already I gave all the information.
Okay, madam.
Previously there were 78 students, now 78